Hey family, welcome to my channel. Today I am going to discuss the war poetry, which was quite popular during World War and especially during the age of modernity or modernism. So I'll discuss what is war poetry and its features in this video and its purposes too. I'm very much new in this platform, so please support. Your support will add more charms on my channel. Please do subscribe, follow, share, and don't forget to uh, turn on the notification for more interesting videos. Uh, let's start. Uh, on introduction part, firstly we should know what is war poetry and when it actually developed. War poetry didn't develop during old age or any time, though there are some war poetries, but not like as a genre, because there is Iliad, the Odyssey by Homer. So they will not be counted as poetry, but the term actually war poetry as a literary genre developed during the period of the First World War. It is the sad of brutal life among the soldiers during the First World War. The war poets were mostly young men who volunteered or were conscripted to fight in the trenches of the Western Front. Like the war poetry, also known as the trench poetry. Actually, in the first page, we have said that seen that there is a term that war poetry or trench poetry. Yes, it can be termed as trench poetry, though there is a poem also that is known as trench poem by Isaac Rosenberg. Actually, he was also among the war poets. Okay, so war poetry developed during the First World War, and also it continued till the Second World War. So there actually in the war poetries there was the effect of the World War, or you can see the the witnesses of the world wars. Okay, the war poets wrote their poetry to raise the question of either life or death, nationality pride or own existence, duty or guilt, courage or cowardice. So they witnessed the horrors of modern warfare such as gas attacks, shell shock, machine guns, etc. So they observed the brutality, they observed the crimes, the murders, the bloodsheds on the war. So next, I'd like to discuss the theme of the war poetry. So about theme, there is a person named Randall Jarrell who coined the term in his essay "The Literature of War." Jarrell defines war poetry as a poem that has its theme of war and is written during or about war. So the themes like the loss of innocence, actually one can guess why the loss of innocence I have mentioned. Like the teenage boys, the teenage persons also were appointed in the battlefield and they lost their life mostly, and who actually survived, they also actually served for the country, yes, but of course on the other hand they were not fully okay from physical side. Okay, so they lost their innocence, life, etc. And then brutality of war. The wars are always brutal. Actually, there will be bloodshed. Okay, there will be murders. There will be everything. Okay, there will be the hollowness, or there will be the joblessness, everything, the brutality. So then disillusionment with religion, destruction of nature, culture and civilization. Yes, of course, when the war will be happened, there will be the destruction of nature, okay, the culture, the civilization will be fall in a very bad situation. Then brotherhood and relationship. Yes, not always the brotherhood and relationship will be destroyed because of wars. It is not right. Sometimes it also can be created or built because of war, like when it comes for to nation, to country, to religion, to region, then maybe sometimes a kind of new relationship, new brotherhood can be made, like India and Russia and all like this. Okay, so this is not actually always happened, but sometimes happened also. Then irrationality of war. Then next, I'd like to discuss types of war poets. There are two types of war poets mostly seen during in this scenario. So there are two types. Like first type, who glorified the war, according to whom the war is about pride. Okay, so actually they glorified, they mythified the war. And another type is the poets who were against the war, also known as the anti-war poets. Actually, mainly we will when we'll search for war poets, we'll find that anti-war poets, the term anti-war poets on Google or any places, like mostly. So they're anti-war poets who actually demythified or de-glorified the wars. Actually, according to them, it is the loss of loss of innocence, loss of health, everything. Okay, loss of money, power, everything. So war is not always good. Okay, so next I'd like to discuss the purpose of writing war poems. Okay, even some persons can say, why actually when the Iliad was written, the Odyssey was written, the huge descriptions of the war were described there, but why then poems? Actually, look, poetry is the best way to express someone's emotion and expression during the war. Okay, actually, look, the war poets were mostly the soldiers. Not all of them, but many of them were soldiers. Like we will see on further that Wilfred Owen, Siegfried Sassoon, Robert Graves, Isaac Rosenberg, all of them are soldiers, right? So actually when they were on the battleground, they wrote the poem, they composed the poems, not wrote, sorry, they composed the poems. And during battle, actually Wilfred Owen was very much popular, who was the soldier of World War, and he lost his life on the battlefield. So one can easily think that for a soldier, they can't actually write a whole narrative or a story on war. And here, when one is trying to write a poem, okay, then he can elaborate the whole scenario with sort of words, with lack of words. Like we many of us have read Rape of the Lock. Okay, the Rape of the Lock, there we get the idea that there is the idea of cards, the game of cards. In the game of cards, there is the image of the whole war, and the whole war's image was represented just by cards game. Okay, though that was a mock epic, that was a mock. That was itself is a mock. Okay, So in poems you can use short of words to express your emotion, to express your idea about war in that battlefield, because uh, any one of them didn't know when the another person will attack, so they got a short of time to compose. Okay, then another main reason for writing war poetry is to show the true picture of the war. I have already mentioned that true picture of the war can be elaborated through poetry, okay, clearly. So it creates a sense of honor. Also is a purpose to write, that it can create a sense of honor. When there is a poem by Rupert Brooke, that is The Soldier, where actually the scenario is glorified. Rupert Brooke was one of them who glorified the war. Okay, and in the poem The Soldier, the body of soldier, the nature was actually printed very carefully. Okay, very painted very carefully, and one can see that is glorified. Okay, and on the other hand, realistic document of war with all its brutality can be imagined through poems. Okay, next, I'd like to discuss some names of some war poets, because there are many war poets, and I'd like to mention some of them, like John M.C. Clay, Edward Thomas, Siegfried Sassoon, Rupert Brooke, Isaac Rosenberg, Wilfred Owen, Robert Graves, Edmund Bladin, and there are many more like them. Okay, so actually, in between them, Wilfred Owen, Isaac Rosenberg, and Rupert Brooke was very much famous. Isaac Rosenberg was famous for trench poems. Okay, he was a soldier also, and Rupert Brooke was famous for his sonnets, and The Soldier was very much famous by Rupert Brooke. And Wilfred Owen also a soldier, and Dulce el Decorum Est was one of his famous poems. So now I would like to discuss some modern poets on war poetry. There are some modern poets like W.B. Yeats, T.S. Eliot, and many more. So I would like to mention just two of them to emphasize the work, or to highlight the work. So there is a famous poem by W.B. Yeats, which is titled "On Being Asked for a War Poem," that is written by William Butler Yeats, or W.B. Yeats. So the poem is, "I think it better than in times like these a poet's mouth be silent, for in truth we have no gift to set a statesman right. He has had enough of meddling who can please a young girl in the indolence of her youth, or an old man upon a winter's night." So, when he was asked to say on war poems, he actually chose the way to keep mouth shut during this situation, because only the poets or the persons who uh, joined the war, who participated in the war, know it better than him what is the current situation of the war or the battlefield. Okay, so the another poem, The Second Coming, also by W.B. Yeats was there, where W.B. Yeats mentioned that he actually is very much, firstly though he was thinking actually he was very pessimistic, then on the second part he was very much optimistic, because he actually is thinking that the second coming of Jesus Christ, which was not mentioned there properly, but Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ will be actually be done, and then what will be done? Then Jesus Christ will come, and the final day of judgment will be happened. Okay, so in the second coming, he was very much optimistic also, and then T.S. Eliot's Wasteland also is a famous poem where the hollowness is very much significantly mentioned. The hollowness, the blood, everything. There actually, the land will be no man's land because of wars. Okay, that is mentioned here. So I'd like to stop here. Actually, the video is very much will be very much long if I started the discussion of anti-war poets, or the war poets. I'd like to stop here. Please don't forget to follow me. Please subscribe, follow, like, and share for more interesting videos.